Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at the big story we are tracking for you. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has a lot on his plate right now. His personal ratings are at a low after the Partygate scandal. A worsening cost of living crisis in the UK is mounting pressure on the government and is hurting millions of citizens. Johnson is also assuming a leading role in a diplomatic offensive against Russia over its invasion into Ukraine. And despite all of this, Boris Johnson appears to be picking a Brexit-related fight with his old foe, the European Union. The UK government has spent much of this week talking up the prospect of overriding a key part of the Brexit deal that Johnson himself negotiated and signed with the bloc back in 2019. The issue at hand is the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's a safeguard that was put in place to ensure that the border between the Republic of Ireland, which is a part of the EU, and the Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, remains open. Now, the Johnson government argues that the protocol is not working for multiple reasons. The latest is the power-sharing trouble in Northern Ireland. The Unionists in Northern Ireland have refused to form a power-sharing government with the Republican Sinn Féin party that won the historic legislative polls. The Democratic Unionist Party says until the protocol is fixed to their satisfaction, they will continue to hold out. The DUP, saying no to power sharing, has left the Northern Ireland Assembly in limbo. Its leader, Jeffrey Donaldson, has said that the party wants to send a clear message to the European Union and the UK government. The DUP opposes the protocol over checks on the goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. Brussels believes that this is just the latest excuse London is using to disregard the protocol. The UK had earlier claimed that the protocol is damaging its internal market. To date, British government has yet to fully implement the protocol. Many from the Conservative Party believe that the protocol was an unfair deal that is undermining the integrity of the United Kingdom. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will visit Northern Ireland on Monday amid this crisis. He is likely to deliver a tough message and will urge politicians in Northern Ireland to restore power sharing. He is also likely to assure Northern Ireland leaders of political stability. In a shift in tone before emergency talks in Belfast on Monday, Johnson will insist that the government has never suggested scrapping the protocol and that there will always need to be a treaty in place between the United Kingdom and European Union that prevents a hard border on the island of Ireland. Now, top officials from Johnson's government have warned they might take unilateral action over the rules for goods going in and out of the British-run province, raising alarm in the European Union. Ireland's Foreign Minister, Simon Convey, has urged the British Prime Minister to not introduce the new post-Brexit laws or take any unilateral action that could undermine the peace process in Northern Ireland.
But there is an opportunity, I hope, in the next few days to get this dialogue back on track and to avoid the creation of a lot of unnecessary tension by publishing unilateral legislation that would send headlines around the world that the United Kingdom is deliberately breaking international law and creating huge tension with their closest neighbours and potentially undermining a peace process by doing that.
What exactly the British government plans to do in the immediate future remains unclear. Regardless of the arguments over who is right and wrong, there are serious questions to be asked as to how sensible it is for the UK to start a fight with the EU at the moment, considering its cost of living crisis. And coming back to Boris Johnson, he is a leader with the political career carved out of taking risks. Some have paid off and some have brought him immense criticism. The biggest gamble of his political life so far was backing Brexit, and that ultimately put him in 10 Downing Street. As a Prime Minister, he has governed through one crisis after the other. Now, whether locking horns with Brussels would dig him out of a hole or bolster his support further remains to be seen. And now we are being joined live on this broadcast by journalist Aleks Eror, who is coming to us from London. Hello to you, Aleks. Now, Northern Ireland's politicians are being told to get back to work by Boris Johnson, who is keen to resolve the deadlock over the post-Brexit trade. The Johnson government arguing that the protocol is not working and have now threatened to take unilateral action to change this. Will you take us through the details?
Well, basically, the fact that part of the UK, which is Northern Ireland, shares a border with the EU, there need to be assurances for the EU side that goods that don't meet EU standards don't cross over onto the border. So but at the same time, they don't want to impose a hard border on the island of Ireland because it carries the risk of inflaming sectarian tensions between Catholics and Protestants. And this issue has largely faded out of the news. It was an issue that was a big part of the Brexit stalemate, but it appears to have suddenly flared up again, and there are questions as to why.
Right, and Sinn Féin has accused Boris Johnson of using Ireland as a pawn and saying that this could seriously undermine the peace process in Northern Ireland. What would be the effects of this kind of action?
Well, what the British government are suggesting be done is to suspend checks on goods going from the UK into the island of Ireland and into the EU single market. And if that were to happen, the EU, obviously to protect the integrity of their single market, would have to check goods coming in themselves, which would slow down the process and would create the sense of a hard border coming up. So basically, what was currently going on is a bit of a game of chicken, where the British government wants to be the ones who force the EU to take that step, so then they can blame any sectarian tensions on Brussels.
Right. And what about the timing with Johnson picking up the Brexit fight over the Northern Ireland Protocol now, while he is facing a host of other issues, including the war in Ukraine and the domestic issues such as the rising cost of living?
Well, I think he's just trying to distract from particularly that last issue that you mentioned, the rising cost of living, because the British government doesn't seem to have any concrete plans on how to deal with that issue. So they're relying on, the tried and the trusted method of blaming the EU, creating scandal, distracting from the real issues. And it worked very well for them during Brexit. But I think now, when it's really affecting people's daily lives, their livelihoods and their living standards, it might be a bit more difficult to carry out this time.
Right. Aleks, thank you very much for joining us with your valuable insights there.
No problem. Thank you.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.